Hello guys and welcome to our channel. This is Paper Roll. In today's video I finally want to share my PvP version of my World vs World roaming build. The story behind this, I get asked a lot, will this build work for PvP, or what would you change if you want to take that build in PvP? So in this video we will answer that, but I want to go to many specifics. So I want to share what method did I use to test this build and compare every detail about it, why it works, why it doesn't, every strength and weaknesses that I found, and I also want to share my experience with PvP, my own thoughts, and about the current meta and the position of this build in it. And in a way I will share two different versions, but one of them is actually the version I would use. So the method behind the testing does not care about specific rank. Many players, even players I have played with, are very good to the point that other player would cripple them down, and others was not really good that they were simply carried. So the rank doesn't really tell you this way. However, it gives you an idea about the system. For example, I noticed the biggest difference when I fell to gold 2, I didn't finish the build yet. It was all testing from the moment I entered, and even I finished the placement while still testing. The build wasn't finalized, and I finished in gold 3. The difference between gold 2 and gold 3 was noticeable the moment I fell to it. Gold 2 became a bit too easy. Most of the player that you play against play quite differently to gold 3. Gold 3 felt closer to plat 1, like very close, because I even fought in it many Prince of the Arenas, stuff like that, like players who really know what they're doing. And this change and this difference changed a lot about how the Druid would work. So this testing method allowed me from the placement and like a couple of matches after that and stuff, allowed me to test how different player plays and how the builds are simply become different in higher position, and allow me also to realize that there is so many weaknesses I had to change. Like this doesn't work, and I changed to another. So the early version I have in front of you is the early method that I realized it doesn't really work, at least not for me in the higher level, and I will share why, and then I will tell you what is the other one. So it was an entirely test system. Like I went into rank and I test something. The second match I test something. I take observation of what it worked, what it didn't, and I change something. I finished placement even an extra match after it, and I didn't. I was in gold 3 and I fell down a bit, and then I finally finalized my build, and I had like a couple of matches. Both of them was win. I'm not saying obviously I'm gonna be winning every match once I finalize the build. This would be nonsense. But I won both of them, and I felt content. Like I like the build now, how it works. So like I said, that's explain why the rank itself doesn't matter. I was able to test it in different things. You would be able to take it even farther if you play better than me. I'm not a PvP player, and the last time I played rank was the last time I made a PvP video for this, and it was like 3 years ago or something like that. So I wasn't at all familiar with the meta, the people choices and stuff. And I would like to say also, I did not like the current state of PvP. It brought me back to the time when we had the core guard meta in a way, everyone trying to use the amount of invulnerable skills they have. Now you have a block, now you're invulnerable, now you're dodging, and everyone spams their skill to kill each other faster. And everyone have too much mobility. Even very good player who really understand what they're doing still have to press too many skills at the same time to simply burst someone down. So it is almost a power-oriented meta with too much mobility that ripped even the classes that used to have the value of mobility out of that, so they have to find different and other methods to defend themselves. So the method I'm using with staff and something like that, it count on like a single movement skill, and with everyone moving better than me, with no real way to defend myself, a build like this would really struggle. That's why you would find players mostly run Soulbeast or an Untamed with heavy defensive skills. You have Doliac stance, you have forced fortification for Untamed, and build like me would run something like Signet of Stone. Another problem for me is I'm not a PvP player, so I end up always thinking like a World vs World rumor. My build generally can fight long fights, but in PvP you don't want long fights because they will hinder your team, and you will always get +1 and the fight will end faster. You don't have high defensive ability, you don't have healing, You don't have Trailblazer as a gear setup. You don't have food. You don't have things that really stick to the build and change how it works as we do in World vs. World. So the sustainability for any build goes way down and damage becomes a priority, which create a problem for a build like this count on healing too much and not active defenses. And I end up still thinking as a roamer, and I test my limit way too much and I could end up dying easily. I don't pay attention to the map as much, I forget. Remember, I only tested this in few hours just to have different testing ground, different levels of players I play against. I'm not gonna be playing, obviously, PvP for like a month and get used to it and learn around the current meta and position stuff and really get my head in the game just to make a build video. So I just wanted to put my feet in it in a way. Instead of answering you the comment, telling you what I think the build should be, I actually give you a video and I do some proper testing. And it's up to you. A better PvP player, someone who really used and familiar with PvP, would probably do much better than I did. Now, the early versions that I would probably give people in comments was this one. I would use Sage Amulet, and I tested it obviously, and Wizard Tower with Trapper Rune, and I use Shortbow Staff with Agony on Shortbow and Cleansing, and on Staff I would use Energy and Escape. The weapon stuff will not change. This is the best combination I could find and really good with survivability and damage in a way. So the staff is a kiting and survivability weapon in a way. So the moment you change to it, escape will remove any movement impeding condition. So it would remove your immobilize and stuff, so you immediately can move away with using Ancestor Grace or trying to escape. So people can't catch you in a way. And give you Energy Sigil, which will get you closer to another dodge so you simply can survive. Something I used to forget when I'm playing, I have this condition. I will switch to Staff and Cleanse him, since I always run Cleanse and Sigil for World vs. World, for example, but it doesn't really work the same here, so I don't run it here. I choose to run Escape, so I end up with like against a Burn Guard or whatever, or a Condition Mirage, and I have a lot of condition, and guess what, I don't remove anything of it. So that created some problem, and any mistake I do will also affect my team, which can affect the match in general and affect your rating and ranking and stuff like that. However, on Shortbow I choose to put Agony to have pressure if I don't need to kite, to push my damage as much as possible, and Cleansing so I still able to push out some more survivability to myself. Because in sigils in general, sigils of PvP are very different from the normal game. They are different, and if you don't want to use a passive condition duration stuff, there is very few things other than that you can do. It's oriented around the power builds. When you have too much CC, you can strip boons and stuff like that, and on critical chance, and I don't run anything of that. Now the Sage Amulet would offer you some healing and still condition damage. The power almost have no value to us. Vitality is nice, but we don't have toughness, which created a serious problem for this build. Because like I said, damage is too much, mobility is too much, so you can't escape. The moment you get focused and your teams can't really save you, it doesn't really work. And this build is not support, as you can see. It's oriented around condition, while it still have support to it, like run the glyph to raise. Which means, since you're not actively support, the higher you move up the ladder in ranking, the more people down someone, you can't even raise them, you don't have stability on bit swipe anymore, you can't secure casting the glyph. And even if you do that through Celestia Avatar, like do it from stealth while blinding your surrounding, or dazing them with other style like double casting glyphs and stuff, like doing this to daze everyone around you while you casting a Glyph of the Stars, it's still not really enough. And Glyph of the Stars doesn't raise immediately, so very good players will be able even to push through it in a way, which some of the problems I found with this. The reason I ran Relic of the Wizard Tower was actually to secure this. So I would cast it on a down body, and the moment I finish casting it, I get this ball effect and projectile. So I end up CCing the people who are trying to finish and saving myself and my enemy from projectile. So a little bit of damage or knockback or whatever, stop it in a moment, and that CC secure my ability to raise by myself too and casting other skills. That was the idea behind it. And it worked very well the lower the ranking you are. The moment you're from gold 3, maybe, or even gold 2 at this point, it became a struggle. Besides, since I'm not really a support build, so I can't constantly keep supporting other, I found myself struggle in survivability because the higher the team is, with too much mobility, allies doesn't stick together. They are not close to each other. So you can't simply cast it on a capture point to cleanse and give stability and how no, people just spread. There's too many wellbenders, too many vindicators jumping around and everywhere. Add to that dead eyes that fight from range, and it becomes a serious problem. So I found myself usually trying to secure a finish with it or help myself with cleansing allies, and when I needed to revive, it's on cooldown because I needed it for another reason because of this spread around idea. I never really play support myself, so I don't want to play support. Like, I'm not gonna change my build support, and this idea is not to make a good build or the best build for Druid in PvP, for example. The idea is to take my roaming build and like change it just to work in PvP. So this was the idea. As I told you, how I run the build itself by my choices here, and I had this glyph for revive and any other need. And also I was able to apply weakness, mobilize and bleed as damage, and inside Celestia Avatar it's heal and cleanse to help my allies too. Also my bit was the Siege Turtle, and I used the new one, the Chuck, Sky Chuck Striker, because his skills are not projectile. So the moment he tried to hit an enemy, once he finished casting, the skill land immediately. Through block, it doesn't matter, it lands immediately. And this is a group daze. So it was very good to interrupt your enemies and to make sure you land your revive even. The higher you go up the ladder, you find that this build doesn't work. People will chase you, you will not be having enough mobility without even the speed relic, so you're slower. People have multiple mobility skills, you only have one. You don't have a way to avoid damage, and if you're focused, you can be bursted, one-shotted immediately. Damage is too high in the game. And you don't have any toughness, which made me change the build completely and get it even closer to World vs. World. So I went with Rapid Amulet and Speed Relic actually. This was the final version I tested, and I had much better time even against very good players, in my opinion. Even so, you can run the same build, but I wanted to just have this level of focus and condition cover through Iboga again and control. It's just what I'm familiar with, but obviously you can run either of them. However, never change the turtle. That is clearly very good defense for you and your allies, with protection, which we struggle, as I said, with the amount of damage that can happen to us, and very good CC even for down allies and stuff with launch ability and daze from distance and stuff. And it can survive for longer, so it can generally be well used in a way. And the use of Rapid Amulet does not give us any value of the precision, and once I get to the trait you will understand why. So there is 900 points here that worth absolutely nothing to this build. However, the 900 points in toughness is what we want. Add that to our condition, duration and condition damage from here with the Agony Sigil, and you can have some very decent damage. And I ended up using Signet of Stone. I made a video about different choices and why I changed Sharpened Stone here, and about World vs. World, and it's a similar description exactly to why this works. But basically, having 3 seconds of avoiding damage and other players seeing this on you, even your enemy know you have a survive button, they can't really focus you until they burn through it, and to do that they know they would have to waste cooldowns. So it can change enemy choices, and even if they do, you would have a way to survive and a way to break out. And since the entire meta is around I pressed all my button and you should have been dead, this kind of thing now. If you can survive their buttons, now you still have buttons and they should be dead. This is how it works basically. So something like Power Mirage in general, it's very frustrating to play against if you're not running something like this. So that is a good thing. And to dish out more damage, we run Entangle. Entangle allow you control and some serious burst, since many of them, like the Mirage for example, does not have too many condition cleanses. So you have really decent damage, good mobility, good survivability, and you can be kiting around from a point to another. You can be supporting an enemy, you can even take 1v1s against many classes. There's no problem with it, with this version. Because you're tanky through your bit, you can heal a little, you can cover yourself against condition, you can survive power damage well, you still have staff to even more healing and combos, water fields, you still have Celestia Avatar, a lot of CC and some decent control with decent damage. The build itself is exactly as World vs. World, so we run Skirmishing, Witness Survival and Druid. So in Skirmishing we take the Trap expertise, obviously you have a lot of precision, so this one is tempting. So you can in a way run it, you will only lose the amount of regeneration durations that you have, so it's really up to you, but I found the regeneration to be very valuable, so because you can have a lot of healing through that. It's literally double the amount of healing you can have, and it can help your allies and your bit around you, so it's really up to you, but we have a lot of precision, so you can run this one. And we go with hidden barbs and light on your feet to support our short bow. Quick draw can be tempting, but it will lower or increase the cooldown of short bow skills, which we really need this swiftness. We can get it from weapon swap and this skill, and even the other skills would have longer cooldown, and a simple clone from Mirage will stop your skill because bow skills will not be piercing anymore, or in general. So a single bit will stop you. If you hit an ally, you will not hit the one behind them, stuff like that. So that's why I'm running light on your feet. And for wilderness survival, I run Child of Earth for lesser muddy terrain, more control, more condition cleanse, and I run empathic bond to remove condition on bit swipe, and I run wilderness knowledge since we have survival skill every time we heal, survival skill here, and survival skill here, so they all cleanse condition from us. And for Druid, we run standard condition Druid right now. Blood Moon, every CC we do will trigger a stack of bleeding, and we get these on entering Celestia Avatar to our surrounding. And Celestia Shadow to have abilities to break from others and simply kite away. And lastly, we use Eclipse to tie a condition skill or a condition damage or effect with every Celestia Avatar skill. So it's a basically condition Druid, just a standard one. And since Blood Moon does not have a cooldown for those bleeds, everything you do, if it's a CC or an Immobilize, will trigger bleed. So every single stack for Entangle will trigger bleed. Even a single stack from healing under the enemy will give bleed. Your CC here if you are able to immobilize the enemy if you're flanking. And you can simply keep putting more damage, entering Celestia Avatar and bursting enemies or your surrounding just by Celestia Avatar. So that's the build, and I will be giving you some commentary and points now on matches in a way, so you get to see some experience of it. Tell me what you think, or if you're gonna play this build. This is basically my World vs World build turned to a PvP version. So this is the last match I played before I called it the day, and I consider the build is completely finalized and I had to test it very well. So you will notice here few things about your Druid. You have some good control, ability to immobilize your enemies in order to your allies to actually control the fight. You still have very good amount of damage and cover condition to also control the fight, a decent amount of survivability and movement. With the speed relic, you can kite and break a point from one point to another and even move between the capture point to survive or to have decap or +1 your allies. So the build is quite well rounded with decent healing, access to condition cleanse, to damage, to almost every tool. Your survivability is quite limited in a close encounter or against melee builds, but you can compensate with good play in a way. Like you see here, I really got low and against a dead eye with no Signet of Stone, no reflect, no anything, and I still was able to catch him until my allies was coming near and order to kill him. Good line of sight and ability to break out. I compensate a lot with my ability to roam, even so I'm not great in playing in PvP. Like even reading the map, I have to from time to time look at the map and to notice where we are, what we took and stuff like that. I can't pay this much attention to it. Like I forget, I keep playing it like it's my normal build and my muscle memory kick in when it shouldn't. And comparing to other ranger builds, mostly power builds like the Hammer Untamed here, he's a very good player in my opinion. He is one of the best players on his team now. They can spike you so hard and so fast, so that's a higher value they can offer their team. But with your ability to catch enemies and also support a little bit with the condition, stealth and CC, you can do much more. And you don't have to be as patient as World vs World because this version can take better hits with the Signet of Stone and it can dish out some decent damage because also other players doesn't have enough survivability here. They sacrifice a lot for this amount of damage they use. I move to the far node here in trying to decap it, but I break distance from the enemy. I try to kite the Untamed, but he catches me with the CC. I use Signet of Stone. I survive once it starts dazing me, and I make more distance. I change a bit and protect myself from projectiles, start healing a bit with regeneration and protection. I try to catch the other one with Immobilize and immediately go into Cesty Avatar and cast Stability so he doesn't spam CC me, stealth and create distance, and then start kiting. So all of this damage got wasted for nothing, and I still able to survive and still have a stun break. And immediately change to the easier target, and in my opinion the most dangerous for me, since he would still have more cooldown, which is a Chronomancer. But my allies went down, so I tried to revive him, but there's too much damage, too much pressure from both of them, and I try to keep him alive, was cleansing him, healing under him, and keep myself around, trying to CC them more until other allies came. Luckily, my team was playing quite well here. And we were able to down the Chronomancer, and the Untamed who had no way to go. He tried to rally him by finishing, but we kept an interrupt after interrupt, me and my team, and they both went down. The other allies who came went down. It became a snowball of down after another. And that's because my ally timing was great, and I was able to keep my ally, as a down one, alive long enough for them to reach. And I try to engage them again, like ball them to me, to annoy them enough, but they decide to change direction because I'm gonna be fighting them on the road and they will be wasting time. I find another easy target, which is a core ranger, and core rangers are quite the easier or the easiest ranger to fight, in my opinion. Even if they run a heavy damage build, it's not capable or doesn't have enough utility to compare with Soulbeast or Untamed. And he gets downed very easily with the help of my Soulbeast, and I move again to the north. I find where is the fight and I move to it, and we have a very strong lead with this snowball of killing after another, since it happened to the mid fight. And with days after another cancelling skills, we down the Untamed again. I try to cleave him with the Celestia Avatar to offer some great damage, even to anyone who try to come near. This is a benefit of playing Druid, I guess. And Chronomancer get down very easily, and I change point immediately to try to cover another thing. This fight here is over, and again I want to push people or my enemies away from the fighting point, but they're already on middle, so I go to engage there. My allies already downed one. I catch the other one with CC and Immobilize, and he was also down. At this point, the enemy kinda lost the ability to regroup and rebuild their power, with us cornering them every time they're trying to come out. And as you see, my pressure on the Untamed, a lot of people think Untamed or Ranger in general, if you play Soulbeast to Untamed, you have an insane amount of survivability. In my opinion, you don't. It's quite mediocre. If either you have the skill or you don't. So if you have your elite, yes, you can run out of Immobilize and you can have stability and survive CC, but if you don't have it, your ways are quite limited. So you have to have another way to survive, and as in another way. So you have your Greatsword block, for example, or you have another form of stability. If you don't have it, it's over. It's not about distance, because you're already a melee class, and that's a struggle any ranger would face. Every build or every class has its weaknesses, and this, in a way, it is weakness. So I can use it against an Untamed or a Soulbeast. I engaged the Willbender here in a 1v1, and his Mesmer came, so I use this trick when I cover my movement inside before leaving Cesty Avatar to stealth, and I pull one of them toward me, and I go to fight the other again, trying to decap. So now I'm in a 1v2, trying to bull time enough. So they already struggling with beating us in a team fight or in regrouping in a way, and now I'm bullying too, so that's gonna be way too much struggle for them. But my ally joined, so now it turned to a 2v2, and I already decapped it, and we had an insane lead, so we won the fight. There's many other fights that I recorded, even if they are not complete. Some footage I lost, honestly. I could share it. Even harder fights, but it generally always go the same way. With this build, like with the finalized version, you can survive the high pressure, you can move out. Speed Relic will help you with your swiftness, and your survivability is very decent. For any player who already knows PvP and can play better than me, you can do wonders with this build. I'm not saying it is the best build, I'm saying actually it have a lot of downsides in my opinion to PvP because of the current meta that you have to run it this tanky with Singed of Stone, for example. So tell me what you think and your experience with it if you're gonna play this build. I hope this video is helpful or enjoyable at least, and I'll be seeing you next time. Peace.